the shrinking size of government and the attempts to do so. Republican strategist Matt Klink and Democratic strategist David Katz, both of you, welcome back. I'm going to start with you, David. You know, in terms of these mass layoffs that are happening, they've started to trickle in now. We're seeing thousands at one department and we're seeing offices closed in another. But this federal judge essentially giving the green light for all of this to proceed. Americans arguably voted for this. So what's the other take? What's the other side of the coin?
Well, it's rich. Good to be with you, Adrian. It's rich to hear Trump quote Napoleon. You know, Napoleon was a dictator. Napoleon didn't have our U.S. Constitution and its checks and balances. This has been chaos. This has not been a tailored effort to actually decrease the size of government in an efficient, orderly way. And of course, the federal judges who have a duty to enforce our U.S. Constitution and the statutes have ruled against Trump and Musk over and over again. It's been ruled that they cannot root around in these Treasury computers. That's been held, and that they have to remove anything that they have removed, that they have to delete. The one victory that they won in front of this judge was a Pyrrhic one. It's one that Musk is going to regret, because the basis of it is that DOJ is a government agency. That means that it's governed by the Freedom of Information Act. I expect to start seeing requests and lawsuits to get its records like any other government agency. It's covered by the Privacy Act. That means that our privacy, we have to cooperate with all these government agencies and give them our private, confidential, sensitive data. It means that he can't rifle through it any more than any other government agency without rules. And he's covered by the Administrative Procedure Act. So Musk will rue that litigation. And in terms of the people, Adrian, that they're cutting back, nobody voted for this. Nobody voted for 3,500 Forest Service employees to be cut, whether they're probationary or not. They're doing a good job. They weren't fired for cause. 4,000 HHS employees. My God, we have the bird flu potential pandemic to deal with. We're going to have 4,000 less employees at the CDC and at the other agency there, the HHS. And finally, the IRS, you know, these super rich cronies of Trump's, they don't want to pay taxes. They never want to pay their fair share of taxes.
Well, I have to stop you there because both sides, Democrats and Republicans, enjoy hefty tax breaks. We'll go into that later. Matt, there's a report out this week that the State Department from the Biden administration planned a $400 million purchase of armored Tesla Cybertrucks. The State Department saying that plan's not moving forward. It was a forecast. Some, even here on our network, argue a conflict of interest here between Elon Musk, DOJ, and this government contract. What would you say the administration should do?
Well, it was approved under the Biden administration, first and foremost. Rachel Maddow made that claim on MSDNC and was roundly criticized for it. And all that being said, look, I mean, if the State Department wants to purchase them, let them purchase them. Then that's up to ultimately to Marco Rubio. But look, I think, Adrian, I want to go back to something. What you just heard from your other guest is an argument for the status quo remaining in place in Washington, D.C., which is exactly why Donald Trump was elected, was to get rid of that, as Carolyn Levitt so eloquently put it, to get rid of this crap that the American taxpayers are funding. 200,000 probational employees, meaning people that can be dismissed easily, and a federal workforce of 300 million. You know what we call that? We call that a start. That's the only way we're going to start to get control over where this money is going. I doubt that the American taxpayers are going to see a noticeable difference. And as for the lawsuits, it's just a matter of time before Donald Trump wins these lawsuits and a strong executive. Heaven forbid that the president actually decides to do what Barack Obama and what Bill Clinton have said about budget reform and transparency, that they actually start cutting budgets. Well, oh my goodness, that's revolutionary.
But that's what I want to ask you, David. I mean, people are floating around these videos from when President Clinton was in office and others who were Democrats in office talking about waste needing to be addressed, jobs needing to be cut. Democrats have argued for a long time that waste should be something that is tackled by an administration. So what is the right way that Democrats could do that without putting roadblocks in the way for the current administration?
You know, Adrian, that's a great question. One thing is, don't fire all the inspectors general in the government. Their job, agency by agency, is to cut fraud and waste and to really keep track of corruption. And of course, Democrats and many independents, many Republicans believe that the reason that they've cut the inspectors general and the reason they've retaliated against some of these agencies in particular is because they were investigating Musk. It's just that simple. The man plans to rob the bank of the federal treasury, and he doesn't want to have the sheriffs around. He doesn't want to have 17 inspectors general. There's no excuse for that. Biden didn't do anything like that. And there's, of course, rational ways to cut the government. You can do it in an orderly way. But to suddenly traumatize all of these people and to terrify all these people at the agency, Adrian, they're doing the public's business. So I have no problem with fraud and waste. I was in the government myself. In fact, under President Reagan, I see the poster of him behind your other guest. I was an admirer of him. I was an employee of his. I worked for the U.S. Attorney's Office under him. I saw a bit of fraud and waste in my time, but none of this is designed to get at it. This is, as I say, chaos, and the federal judges are not going to approve it. And if they think they're going to win in the U.S. Supreme Court, I think there's 7 votes that are not going to vote for this. They're going to vote for the separation of powers on the Supreme Court. They're going to vote that these independent agencies are independent and that these were hasty, blunt force tools when they should have done this with a scalpel, which I'm all for.
Okay, Matt, 10 seconds. Is it chaos and is it crazy?
Absolutely not. It's exactly what the American people voted for. And 70% of the American population, according to polling, says that Trump is fulfilling his promises.
Matt Klink, David Katz, thank you both for being here.